Welcome to the Voice of Retail. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc. This podcast is brought to you in conjunction with Retail Council of Canada. After a debilitating injury that left her with chronic pain, Within founder and CEO Michael Larivee turned to acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicines. It was so impactful on her life that after 15 years in working in healthcare at the investment banking and private equity level, she decided it was time to create her own venture.
So for us, it's that approachability in every sense of the word, whether that's herbal formulas that come in a tablet form, so it's as easy as possible for a consumer to take it. Names that make a routine seem like less of a chore because they're fun. On our studio side of things, and then I guess also, really important is the subscription element as well.
In this episode, we discuss Michelle's journey and why she felt a business like Within was so desperately needed now more than ever. Michelle, welcome to the Voice of Retail podcast. How are you doing this morning?
Hello, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for joining me. I'm excited to learn more about you and your background and the company you've co-founded and what you're trying to accomplish. Let's jump right in and tell us a bit about your background. Looking at your background, more international relations and foreign policy work, but clearly there's an intersection here with a passion for a product line. So tell us all about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I am the co-founder and CEO of Within, and we are the first modern brand with omni-channel services and products for holistic healing rooted in traditional Chinese medicine. So we have retail acupuncture studios and clean wellness boutiques in Manhattan. And we also have our own line of acupressure products, as well as organic herbal supplements that are all deeply rooted in both the history and wisdom of Chinese medicine, as well as the science that has research that's been driving the traditional use of the medicine.
So how did you come to be involved in this kind of startup or this kind of enterprise? Is it something that connected with you personally? You have a co-founder who looks like they have a background in wellness. So tell us a bit about that.
Sure. So I would say it's a little bit of two things. One is my background has always been in the healthcare industry professionally, initially in investment banking and then private equity and strategy and innovation consulting. And through that time, over the past 15 years, I've worked across the healthcare landscape from insurance companies to pharmaceutical companies to hospitals and academic medical centers, and, have always felt really passionately that health is something that's deeply personal and that touches every single person in this country. So, any way that I can play a part in making that system more accessible, work better, it's always been really motivating for me, knowing the intangible impact that it can have on an individual's daily life. And through my time in the industry, have really noticed some broad shifts happening. And one in particular is toward preventative care. This real ability to thrive both emotionally and physically through taking better care of yourself first, instead of just, I think healthcare in the U.S. today, and I think this is pretty unique to the U.S., is it's really more of a last resort type of thing. And so, I really experienced that shift firsthand through the work that I was doing. Consumers are more empowered. They're more, knowledge driven. They really kind of are starting to see the benefit of taking care of themselves to keep themselves out of our broken healthcare system. So that's my background and something that, I've always been really passionate about, and I would say underlies the fundamentals of what we offer at Within, which really is holistic healing and preventative care. But the real inspiration and what makes me excited every day about what we're doing at Within is through my own health transformation. So about 5 years ago, I had a ski accident, ended up with dislocated vertebrae in my neck and a fracture in my back, and was really left in a situation of chronic pain. And I went through all of, what you can imagine, but physical therapy and muscle relaxers and, various types of steroids and shots and interventions. It was really just consistently in chronic pain until at some point my doctor suggested trying acupuncture.
Hmm.
And at the time, I really knew nothing about it. But of course, when faced with chronic pain, was willing to
Sure.
try anything.
Sure.
And so the pain relief was almost immediate, which was really exciting. But as I was going regularly for acupuncture, I started to notice all sorts of other, I call them side benefits instead of side effects, in the sense that I was sleeping much better. I was feeling less stressed. I began incorporating Chinese herbs and cupping, into my routine. And then, a couple years down the road, acupuncture and herbal medicine were really able to help me get pregnant easily and to have healthy pregnancies, bounce back and recover much more quickly than I would have otherwise anticipated. And so, in reflecting on all of this, I was just fundamentally feeling transformed. Not only did I have two healthy children, but, I was much less stressed. I was, much more focused on what mattered. I was feeling more productive. I had more energy. I just really felt like I had control of my health. And as a result of having control of my health, I felt in much more control of my life. So I would say from there, kind of two things happened. One, my own experience as a consumer. I love Dry Bar and SoulCycle and Equinox and kind of all these other amazing modern wellness concepts that we have in New York. And I found that my personal experience with Chinese medicine was very different. It was expensive. It was, hard to get an appointment. I had lots of questions about the different supplements and herbs that were part of the routine, but, it wasn't always easy to get an answer or to really understand, the ingredients that were being used. That on one hand was frustrating. And then at the same time, because I had experienced such a transformation in my health, I, became the biggest advocate and would tell literally everyone I know, you've got to try.
So you knew there was a there, but you kind of felt like there's an opportunity / shortcoming in that you didn't see that consistency or reliability or dependability brought together, right?
Yep, exactly. It was really about approachability. So, lots of interest from people that I would, tell that I thought this could be a solution for them. But, how do I get started? How do I know that I can trust what I'm doing? And so for us, it's all about how do we become that modern source of trust and how do we really educate our consumers to know, Eastern medicine has very different philosophies than Western medicine. And so just being able to educate someone on how to get started and how to really integrate it into their lifestyle.
Well, it's a fascinating story because I often find this intersection of the personal and the professional comes together in founders such as yourself, and you're articulating that journey. Well, talk about it a little bit before I get to the kind of two starts and one stop. Talk a little bit about how you go to market. You've talked about stores and distribution. I think I saw your product at Showfields in New York.
Yep.
This time last year. Right. Because I thought, what wonderful packaging. I was drawn right to it. Congratulations. It's just
awesome. Thank you.
It really did draw me right to it. This was like back in, when was it? January, I was in for NRF and I was checking out Showfields and wandering around and I got to know Tal's V and
awesome.
your product stood out to me in a big sea of products, right? And first of all, it was the creativity and the fun around it. And then secondly, the packaging. So are you a direct-to-consumer model primarily? Like, tell us about how you go to market for a minute or two. Is it a subscription model? Like, how do you envision all that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So, our model is really unique in that we started with, both our retail acupuncture services and the direct-to-consumer business. We actually launched the direct-to-consumer side of the business about 6 months after we opened our first acupuncture studio in Manhattan. And, for us, we really see that link between the two in terms of, differentiating us, but also, the knowledge base that we have at our acupuncture studio with 18 licensed acupuncturists and herbalists on our team that are able to help inform, the products that we launch and to really provide the education that our consumers desire. And then from a product standpoint, what we're really seeking to do is be able to meet the health needs of our clients. I would say, really important to note that we are very mission driven and very passionate. Like, our purpose for existing is helping our clients and customers thrive, both mentally and physically. We take that to heart in terms of how do we create unique products? How do we ensure that we have quality of products in terms of where we source our ingredients from, the level of testing that we do, the consistency. Yep. And then I think, again, we're not reinventing Chinese medicine. We're just kind of really trying to make it approachable and accessible. So for us, it's that approachability in every sense of the word, whether that's herbal formulas that come in a tablet form, so it's as easy as possible for a consumer to take it. Names that make a routine seem like less of a chore because they're fun. On our studio side of things, and then I guess also, really important is the subscription element as well. Knowing that this is really a routine and a lifestyle that you need to commit to. So how can we make it easy to deliver that kind of herbal healing at home as well?
Well, it's certainly a concept right for the time for a whole bunch of reasons. I think many of us are thinking way more about our health than we might have in the before time, pre-COVID. But let's talk about these two starts and one stop ideas. So this is your advice to yourself, or advice to the listeners, advice to other retailers, people who have brands, about two things they should start doing in 2021, and one thing they might want to leave behind. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and I love this question. So I would say, if we've learned anything in the past year, that it's time to stop living in the past with the old sales and same types of products, promotions, things that resonated pre-COVID don't make it relevant now. I think we've really gone through a fundamental shift in our society, whether it's, day-to-day behavior. And for us, particularly as it relates to health, a lot of the surveys that we've done of our own consumer base of late shows that everybody's had a shift in their priorities as it relates to health, and really, staying healthy and thinking with this preventative and proactive mindset that I described, that we've, always been really intertwined with. That's how our clients are starting to think, even more so than before. So, I think if, to survive this, the bottom line is really about adaptation and trying to make some changes. And with that in mind, what I think are really critical in terms of starting to do is real listening with your customers. So you have to go deep. You have to really understand how 2020 and COVID and the social changes that have happened and the political changes, how have those affected your customers? Because nobody is the same as they were when 2020 started. And so, you have to know where they are and how to meet them now. And I think related to that, it's all about innovation and how do you meet your customers where you are. So start thinking about your offerings differently. I know for us, kind of a quick shift that we made that really paid off was when our acupuncture studio closed, we really accelerated the launch of a new product, which is an acupressure mat that could, in a way stand in for the acupuncture, as well as reach, a much larger base than New York, and provide stress relief and pain relief at a time when it was really needed most. And that came through, not just focusing on the products that we had before, and also hearing from our customers what were the health challenges that they were most faced with, and us trying to really figure out how could we meet them there.
Right on. Well, you remind me of an interview I did with global strategist Roger Martin, and he described consumer behaviors as decaying assets on the balance sheet. In other words, things people used to do from a behavioral perspective are just not what they're doing today, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay, so what's your one stop? Those are great. What's your one stop?
Awesome. Well, I think my stop is just really stop living in the past. Stop, with the same promotions and the same products, and like start to think forward and start to think differently.
Fantastic. Okay, last question, bonus question. What are you doing on the virtual stage at Commerce Next?
Yeah, I'm really excited about our session. We've tried to bring a bit of a flavor of, what we do at Within to the session. So, we will have a live acupressure demonstration, which will hopefully give people some of the relief that they need. And then, we'll be sharing more about Chinese medicine, what it's good for, how it can be used, the inspiration behind what we're doing at Within, and, where we're headed next, and how we can really both be there for people that need healing now more than ever, and how we're also thinking about continuing to grow and differentiate ourselves.
Well, I'm looking forward to your session. It's, look forward to that kind of fresh thinking about new ideas about going to market. And of course, the product itself, everyone could use a little stress relief these days for a whole variety of reasons. So looking forward to seeing you on the virtual stage. Congratulations on your success so far. Wish you much continued success. And thanks for being my guest on the Voice of Retail podcast.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
Today's podcast is part of an ongoing series of Commerce Next episodes that will feature some of the fantastic speakers taking the virtual stage January 27th and February 3rd with snapshot insights into how they dealt with online e-commerce in the first year of the COVID era and lessons learned for the future. You can learn more and register for Commerce Next at commercenext.com. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of The Voice of Retail. Be sure and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on the latest episodes, industry news, and insights. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a rating and review, as it really helps us grow so that we continue to get amazing guests onto the show. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc, president of M.E. LeBlanc Company, Inc., and if you're looking for more content or want to chat, follow me on LinkedIn, visit my website at meleblanc.co. Until next time, stay safe and have a great week.